I hope to be visiting you in person very, very soon. Now, today we have some great design pros who are going to talk about tricks of the trade. I was talking to our panelists a little bit earlier, and I was so inspired by how they're not only adapting to what's going on, but they're moving forward and growing their business in all of this. And it was inspiring to me. I hope it'll be inspiring to you. You know all of our panelists, but I'm just going to ask them to introduce themselves and say a few words about their business. Hans, would you like to start?
Yeah, hi.
Hi.
I'm Hans Berglund. So I am the owner of Berglund Architects. We're a 13-person firm in Edwards, Colorado, so in the Vail Valley. And we specialize in high-end residential, mountain modern style. But we do houses throughout Colorado, throughout the United States. We're doing a couple of international projects, one in Canada. We're doing our third one in the Caribbean. And we really believe that architecture has the power to positively affect people's life experiences, to bring them together and connect them to their environment.
I totally agree. Dusty, tell us a bit about yourself.
Well, Dusty Gorski with Listen Up. We are Colorado's oldest electronic integration company. We've been supporting everyone for quite a while, and we work nationally and internationally, primarily in the Denver area as well as Summit and Eagle counties. And we provide everything from the traditional audio and video through automated lighting control, shades, security, access control. We are the toy guys, and we make the home even more enjoyable than what Hans starts with and provides. So we're adding to what he's bringing to the table, as well as all of our other panelists.
Oh, that's great. Now, if anyone has ever been to a Luxe Connects, you've met Polly. Polly, introduce yourself, please.
Hi, I'm Polly Lestico with Closet Factory. I'm the president of Closet Factory, and we've been in business almost 29 years. So we've been through a few downturns and difficult times, and we always come out stronger at the end. We do work all over Colorado in the mountain communities and all of the metropolitan communities. So we're very well versed in different types of homes and different kinds of storage. What we're kind of finding right now is people are home and looking for things to do. So they're cleaning out their closets, they're cleaning out their garages, they're looking at their pantry that's inefficient, and they want to get organized. So we feel really fortunate that we can still work because we're considered an essential industry, and we're making people's lives work better and more efficiently.
You know, I know she's right, because on my social media feed, that's all I see. People organizing their closets right now. And Nadia, it looks like you're reporting from your corporate headquarters there.
Yes, my home office. I'm Nadia Watts, and I'm the owner of Nadia Watts Interior Design, based in Denver, Colorado, with projects all over, and specializing in high-end residential design. And the focus and what is important to me, and even more so now, is how our clients live in their homes. And so, you know, that rings true, especially at this moment for us.
Yeah. So we're going to talk a bit more about that. How it's going to work is I'm going to ask each panelist a direct question. They'll answer, but anybody should feel free to chime in and answer any question they wish. And as we said, audience, if you have any questions, please type them in chat, and we'll get to them at the end if we have time. So let's start. Dusty, I want to start with you. Now, maybe you don't know this, but Dusty told me just a few days ago that he hadn't worn a button-up shirt for several days. And I think you dressed up for this, and we appreciate it, Dusty.
Absolutely, and you can't tell, but yes, also pants.
Okay, you don't have to. I believe you, Dusty. I believe you. So, Dusty, you know, we were talking earlier, and you told me that you put a lot of miles on your truck, that you toured a bunch of job sites. And I wonder if you could give us just a quick recap of what you've seen driving all around.
Well, I was really encouraged to see much more activity than I anticipated. You know, naturally with the COVID-19 safety items in place. We're trying to stay 6 feet apart, less people on a job site, no more than 10 together. And I see a lot of contractors working together to follow these rules, but at the same time, so many of the project sites I saw, from excavation to foundations and trim, all the way to landscaping, were beehives of activity this last week. So very exciting to see how much activity is still going on. And I can speak from experience that our company and my teams are still very busy with ongoing projects as well. We're just being a little more cautious on scheduling and coordinating with the general contractors and other contractors to make sure that we're following those COVID-19 guidelines.
And Dusty, I was really impressed. Both you and Polly were telling me these new safety measures that you've put in place for your team. Do you want to say a few words about that?
Sure. Rather than asking our clients, we're actually telling our clients what we're going to do beyond what we normally do. In a finished home, we always wear booties when we go in. We're wearing gloves in some cases to make sure we don't get dark fingerprints on white surfaces. But what we're doing now, and we're letting the clients know up front, all of our teams, every morning, our entire technical staff has their temperature taken when they come through the warehouse in the morning to pick up products. Once at the house, everybody's got hand sanitizer. We are wearing gloves. We are wearing masks. We're touching as little as we can in other parts of the house. And we are staying as far away from the homeowners, if they're there, as possible to make sure that we're keeping everyone's safety in mind.
Right. And Polly, you told me that you had implemented many of those very same practices, right?
That's true. As a matter of fact, the first day that we figured out we needed to have sanitizer, I went to King Soopers at 7 a.m. All the sanitizer was gone, but I knew that sanitizer is almost all pure alcohol. So I bought all the alcohol that I could there, not gin or vodka, but it was rubbing alcohol. We went online, got a recipe, and we made sanitizer for all of our employees and got little tiny bottles for them to carry in their pockets, especially for our installers out in the field.
Well, at every Luxe Connects that I attend that you're at, you give away a little gift, and I'm hoping that the next one I could get some of that. That would be great.
Sure, that's a great idea.
And so, Polly, you also told me, and you mentioned this a little bit when you introduced yourself, that you learned a lot from 2008 that's helping you now. Can you share with our guests what those lessons are that you're applying right now?
Sure. Well, I think the thing that we learned in really late 2007 is that we needed to act quickly and really pay attention to how big our staff was and what our expenses were. So unfortunately, in December 2007, we did a major layoff. That day was a dark, dark, sad day, but we knew that we needed to keep the best people. And so we quickly made decisions. And we did that in March of 2020. We laid off a couple of people, but mostly we kept people on at fewer hours. And then when we got our PPP, we put everyone back to full staffing because we want to help support their families. And I have to tell you, our bank, BOK Financial, was great. We applied the very first day we could at 8 a.m. It was on April 3rd, and we were fully funded on April 9th, 6 days later. So many people have had big delays, and we really didn't. We were getting emails at 2 a.m. in the morning from our banker. So we're very grateful. And so we actually brought on back on people who really can't work now because they work for us in Costco, and Costco doesn't want them in their store, but we're paying them the same amount that we've paid them all along. And we're grateful.
That's great. And Hans, your team had to pivot quickly to start working at home. How did you pivot to go from working very collaboratively together to working apart but working together?
Yeah, fortunately, we had already set up provisions for people to work from home when they're sick or taking care of kids. So we had all the technical infrastructure established for remote logins. But what we found immediately was just the necessity to be able to people to collaborate. So one of the things that we did is we started having a daily go-to meeting where anyone in the office could join. It was scheduled as a half hour. Some days it was a half hour, some days it was longer. And then we also immediately started scheduling go-to meetings for each project. So some projects meet every day for a half hour or so. Others are a couple of times a week. And we realized that we really needed to have time sharing information and collaborating. And then we've been utilizing some of our tools to share drawings. There's some really good software called PlanGrid where basically you can load PDFs onto it. It works great with any kind of touch screen. We bought everyone in the office a iPad, and anyone who did not have a laptop, we bought everyone a laptop. Within the first day that we decided to close the office, we ordered all of that. And so we can share drawings back and forth and write comments in PlanGrid, and people can see it live. And that was really critical because we realized right away that the collaboration was going to be the key for us to continue to work effectively.
Now, Nadia, I know that you are doing 5 remodels at the moment, right? So what are site visits and things like that? What are they looking like for you right now?
So all of our remodels, the homeowners are not living in the houses. And so that's why we're able to continue. And we are, if we have to have a site meeting, I try to keep it as brief as possible, come in with a list, the client's aware of the list. We practice the social distancing with masks and gloves and whatnot, and try to have a minimum amount of people as possible on site. So that's how we're approaching that.
Mm-hmm. And I want to talk to both of you, both Nadia and Hans and Dusty and Polly. How about working with your clients? Nadia, I know that, it's kind of a different ballgame now, getting somebody back, right?
I'm used to the touchy, the feely and all of that. So we've been doing Zoom meetings, depending on how many people need to be involved, or just FaceTime with one-on-one, or phone conversations to kind of walk through a living room scheme of fabrics and furniture and whatnot. Then I will drop off kind of a bag at the client's house to review in person and then get their feedback via phone or email.
Mm-hmm. So it's taken a little bit longer, but it's happening.
Yeah. It's a little bit longer, but as people are in their homes and seeing how they're using their spaces, I have a few of them kind of itching to get back together and meet in person in those rooms, and really focusing then on some other areas of the house, looking forward to the outside areas and patio and furniture and plans for those spaces as well.
Mm-hmm. And Hans, I was thinking about, and we were talking about, it's not just collaborating with your team, it's collaborating with your clients. Right. So how does that happen? You're not having, meetings with them on site. So how are you doing it?
Most of our projects are second homes, and generally most of our clients, for the last 10, 15 years have lived in a distant place. So they were in New York or LA or Chicago. So we've been used to working with our clients actually remotely. That actually has been less of a challenge. Mm-hmm. Over the years, we've developed a lot of different technologies for sharing drawings, sharing screens. We use GoToMeeting, but then other software to be able to draw live, on the screen, and they can kind of see those changes. And then we use Revit, which is a 3D based design software. Mm-hmm. And what's really great about that is we can show live views of the house 3-dimensionally. We can do walkthroughs, so you can actually kind of create a little instant movie walkthrough through the spaces. And we found that over the years to be really critical for our communication. And now it's really helping out that we've already kind of implemented those technologies.
Mm-hmm. Smart. And Dusty, I loved your advice. You were talking about how you're proactively reaching out to clients who kind of left something on the table, right? Tell us about that.
And in terms of when I'm reaching out to clients, always making sure that I'm, picking up some of the pieces that they may have forgotten, making more suggestions than ever before. There's something interesting called, it's a relatively new industry term called biophilia. And I'm sure both Hans and Nadia bring this into their projects. It's a term that defines bringing the outdoors to the indoors, and particularly up in the mountain communities, the much larger patio doors, bringing that outdoors in, getting fresh air in, bringing lighting in, which allows us to use lighting control and circadian rhythm to adjust the lighting in the house to mirror what's going on outside. Automated shades, blinds, and draperies to block some of that sun or protect your furniture and floors during the hottest part of the days. Again, the mountain communities, that sun is so brilliant, and it's something we love about Colorado, but it's not something we love when it's baking out the back of our furniture when it's facing a window. So there's so many different items that I'm bringing up that I've, in some cases, waited a little longer or didn't bring up at all to clients that are being accepted.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And, you know, we were talking, you said people, they're at home and they're starting to notice. They're at home when they usually weren't, and they're starting to notice that sun is coming in. And
Yeah.
I know I am. I am. I'm noticing things I hadn't before. And Polly, you know, I went to your website to, you know, kind of do some research and see how you were dealing with it. And you have in a big red banner on your website saying to your customers, we can do an online consultation, a site consultation, and you're teaching them how to do some of the measuring themselves to make this sort of remote thing possible. Tell us about that and how you educate your clients to do that.
Well, I should say to Hans, first of all, that you were way ahead of us in being prepared. I would say that several of our designers were prepared. They knew how to use Zoom. But most of us did not. And so fortunately, I have a son who's 33 years old, and he got all of us up to speed within a week. Not that we're so comfortable, some of us, but we're all capable of doing virtual appointments now. And some people, interestingly, some people don't mind our designers coming out to the house. They're used to having people in their homes, and of course, we're following all the guidelines as well, including taking temperatures, wearing masks, all of that. But for people who are not comfortable, we've really been very, very successful. I've started to call our design staff virtual eagles.
Okay. Okay.
So and the other thing we did was we came up with some homegrown videos, really showing them how to measure ceilings, showing them how to measure spaces, how to count their shoes, how to measure their inventory. So our clients are doing some of the work we normally do, but they're happy to do it because they want to get things done.
Mm-hmm. I watched some of those and I learned something. So it's
Good.
working. It's working. Good. I don't know if I trust my measurements 100%, but I learned. And you know, Hans, when we were talking, I thought you had the best idea about offering kind of a limited service. Can you tell everybody about that?
Yeah, this is something we've kind of developed over the years as well, but now we're actually seeing maybe it's more important than ever because so many of our clients are distant, and we do a lot of distant projects throughout the United States, some internationally, that often we would do our interviews virtually before we've met the client in person, and we would usually have to write contracts and agree how to start the project without ever meeting people in person. So typically in the past, what we were doing is we were writing a limited fixed fee scope. It maybe be 10% or so of the amount of work and fee that the project would need. And if we can agree to that in advance, we often then would fly to wherever the house is. We would meet our clients for the first time in person, and then we would do this initial kind of conceptual design. And that would usually be about a month or so of work. And then we would send them a package we review it, talk through it. And if they're happy with it, then we would do a contract for the completion of the project. And then we're seeing that now is even more important because even with local clients, we're generally not able to meet with anyone in person. It gives a way of a comfort level that people feel like they can engage us, learn how we work, see what we can create for them without making a really long-term commitment.
Mhm.
And it's a great way for us to show them what we can do for them.
Mhm. And that could grow into a full
Yes.
project later.
And,
Yeah.
and almost always it grows into us doing more work for them, and ideally, doing the full scope that we had envisioned.
Now, Nadia, we were talking about with your clients being at home, they're using their houses a little differently, and that's maybe making some more work for you down the road as well, right?
Yes, I would say the function of the spaces, especially when the whole family is home, but also we're working on a new build, the designing stages of it, and how that client is going to use the different rooms and how many square feet she's going to build. We've kind of shrunk that up a little bit while we've been talking to the contractor and architect on Zoom with the client, and kind of multi-purpose areas for that client specifically. So
Mhm. I thought it was interesting when we were talking about your projects going on right now, or about to start, how you mentioned everybody now has their place in the house. And so we're kind of rethinking fabrics and maybe set up a little bit, right?
exactly. I personally set up an area for our daughter in the living room that's more of kind of the puzzle formal living room. Well, now it has a desktop for my office, an extra one, so that she can sit there and do her schoolwork and whatnot. And then just kind of in talking with clients about how they're using some rooms that they might not typically be in on a daily basis, how
Mhm.
they're kind of multi-function, or potential for redoing furniture down the road after, school's back in and people are a little more lenient on going out and about,
Mhm.
redoing those pieces and the function of them. Yeah.
Now, in our earlier conversations, all of us touched on how people are kind of rethinking the house and looking toward the future. So I want to ask each of you, and I'm going to start with you, Nadia, because we were just talking about this. Um, in the future, what do you think people will want or alter or tweak because of this experience? Do you have any thoughts about that, Nadia?
Well, I think back to kind of how each room is used. It might not just be the formal living room. It might have a work table or a desk or an area that could be used to do paperwork or for someone to sit with a laptop. I haven't gotten to this point yet, but I feel strongly, to keep the sleeping areas for sleeping and relaxation and not bringing in desks to those spaces if you can. And then, a lower level or a family room, again, a multi-function workspace or a table. My husband's in our basement at an old dining room table that we brought out for monitors and whatnot for him. So I think it's really taking the use of a space and then taking it to another level on how you might approach that. And I think now that everyone's spent time in their houses, we have a little bit more idea of what that looks like, but we can take that again to the next level and keep that in mind down the road.
Right. Words of advice for remodel are to live in the house before you actually remodel it. And I feel like we're living in the house we built for ourselves and really seeing how it's working, right?
And then, yeah.
Oh, please go ahead.
Well, it's there's a few clients that I've been working with right now that this is their third or fourth home that we've worked on projects together. And so I try to always keep in mind how they use the previous home, what their family looks like now, if their family expanding and whatnot. So yeah, kind of trying to anticipate those needs before they are there.
Right. Hans, it seems like just yesterday I wrote an article about how it was kind of demise of the home office, right? Everybody on a laptop, just sitting in an armchair. Is this going to bring home offices back?
I think so. Yeah, I mean, that's a big thing that I've experienced personally, certainly with my wife and I both trying to work from home. But also we're seeing that with a lot of our clients that now they do actually want a dedicated workspace, and they want to be able to close a door for sound if they're on a conference call or go to meeting. And then we've also found, as we had a bunch of clients that we're in the design process with or recently who kind of had this idea of the shared office, the husband and wife
Yeah.
sharing the office. And it probably worked great when one would get up early, they worked for a little bit, one worked in the evening. But now we're seeing that if people are working all day, that really is not functional, particularly with everyone trying to collaborate and using video calls. So we're actually looking at doing, the separate his and her offices, often not right next to each other, or really focusing on soundproofing to make sure that if someone's on the phone, the other person doesn't hear it. And it's also interesting, we've looked at a little more of some of these multi-purpose rooms that we've had. And in the past, we'll often have like a family room on a lower level, maybe with an exercise equipment in it. And when it was a second home that people didn't use maybe that for that long, it seemed to work really well. Now we're finding with clients, and myself included, that, well, if I want to go work out at 11 in the morning, and that exercise room is open to a family room or a stairway, and someone else is trying to be on a phone call, the noise of that, it can be really impactful. So I think we're probably going to be looking at, okay, how can we have maybe an exercise room with some doors that can close for soundproofing when you need it, or open. I think we're going to be looking at probably sound acoustics a lot more in houses than we ever have. That's certainly been a concern.
Yeah, I feel like these ideas could really save some relationships out there. I think a lot of people are listening. And Dusty, you and I talked about both the need for, or the desire for, more audio and more soundproofing as well, right?
Right. I'm excited by what I've heard from people that have been quarantined during the COVID-19 event. And to support a lot of what Hans just said, we're being asked more and more about rooms like an office where if someone's on the phone, they do want to get that soundproofing. So I'm seeing doors being changed out from the French glass door like I've got next to me to something a little sturdier, something that's going to block more sound. And then in addition to that, somebody who traditionally might have worked for a few hours a week out of the house has been working full time. So they're discovering a need for better local area network, whether it's connecting a computer, a printer, scanner, as well as wireless products. And while they're not on the phone, they may want more music in the house. So I've talked to several clients that have immediately asked me to expand their home audio system into their office, maybe adding a TV where they used to watch CNN or the market reports on an iPad. Now they're saying, well, let's put a TV in that room. I won't use it all the time, but when I want to, I want a little bigger size. I want a little better quality. And that then lends itself to the family room. More and more during this event, families are watching television together, which is really encouraging. So people want a bigger television, not because they're going to watch that much more, but when they do have that experience, they want a higher quality. So we're getting bigger TVs, little better sound systems, and just more electronic amenities throughout the house, including lighting and shades and automated control and so on and so forth.
Right, right. Now, Polly, I mean, look, people wanting a lot of storage, that's nothing new for you. I know that's the request you've gotten always. But do you think that people are going to be looking at like their pantry storage differently, or surfaces and materials they choose?
Well, I think one of the questions, or one of the concerns we've seen with people recently is, can our materials be sanitized?
Mm-hmm.
And we've always principally built with a plastic laminate called melamine, and it is very easy to clean. You can use Windex on it. You can use a little soft scrub on it. We even, some of our clients want us to clean up after an installation with Lysol, which we're happy to do. And so the surfaces are really easy to clean in comparison to what a builder grade would be, which is painted MDF. And if any of you live in an old house with old painted shelving, you know what I'm talking about. They after several years, they just look dingy because you can't get the dust out of them. So we're kind of ahead of the ball game there, and people are really pleased with that.
Yeah. Well, you guys have had such great comments. I want to remind everybody who's listening, if you have a question, please type it in comments. I'm going to be wrapping up with the panel now, and then we'll be moving to your questions. But, you know, this has been a challenging time, and I thought maybe we could end, if any of you have, it could be a quote or a meme or something that's inspired you. I'd love to hear it. I'll start. You know, I've been riding the Peloton a lot lately, and they used to just be fitness instructors, but all of a sudden they're giving me this good advice. And one of them said, and keep in mind, this has more to do with the fact that we have a 9-year-old child, an attorney, and an editor all working under one roof. We're all on, I think, a Zoom call, different Zoom calls right now. One of the instructors said, you know, it's possible to be absolutely fabulous and a hot mess. So that doesn't apply to my work. That's more like my family life. But that's a quote that's stuck with me. What about you, Dusty? I bet you have one.
Well, nothing that comes off the top of my head. The one thing that I've really learned during the COVID-19 event is communication is key.
Yeah.
Whether it's with my co-contractors on a project site, or working with an architect or a builder, and especially with a client, the more communication, whether it be text, email, or voice, because very similar to Hans, a lot of my clients are out of town. The homes we're doing in Summit County are second homes. So we're staying in touch more than I ever have before, and just ensuring that all questions are answered, and I'm making sure they know we're here for them during the time.
I'm sure that's going to pay off for you.
Sure.
Nadia, words of wisdom.
Oh, well, I would say to that point that, you know, it's the human relationship and keeping in touch with people in your industry and your clients and your friends and family. And I think that's really been important to me during this time. Even if it's just a quick hello, how are you? I've been in touch with many design and people that I've met all around the world, and I think that's helped a lot for them and also for me.
Yeah. Polly, what about you? Anything inspired you recently?
Well, yes. Actually, a couple of quotes from Winston Churchill have inspired me. The first one was on a signature of a friend of mine's, and it says, "This is no time for ease and comfort. It is the time to dare and endure." And another brief quote from Winston Churchill, "We shall never surrender." And so I think, you know, what I've heard from people is that they're kind of binge watching and they're sitting around a lot. Well, this is no time for ease and comfort.
I love it. Hans, anything from you?
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with Dusty and Nadia how important it is to be communicating. We try to reach out to all of our clients at least once a week with some sort of video call or conference call. But the other thing I think that's really important is to keep things in perspective and laugh a little bit. And, you know, it's okay to sort of just have some silly things. One of my partners in the office, Stephanie Lord Johnson, on Friday, she sends out a 80s music video to everyone in the office of one of her favorite, you know, really dorky 80s video MTV clips.
Yeah.
And on Fridays, we do a happy hour with our office, a virtual happy hour. And our employees typically organizes a special drink. So everyone makes the same drink. And then we talk about how, like, our secret recipe for the perfect, you know, margarita, or I think this week we talked about pina coladas. So, I mean, we're trying to have fun and have some lightheartedness too amongst this, you know, really serious time.
Wow, it sounds like a good time to be on the Berglund team.
Yeah.
Especially on Fridays.
Yeah.
So much for that, you guys. Now, we do have a few questions. Here is one from somebody listening in. How are you preparing for the slow release back to normalcy? Anyone want to take that?
I think staying on top of things now and not just stopping completely on certain areas, I think is a good way to anticipate things getting to a different pace and kind of coming back to being around and on job sites more with clients face to face.
I think the other thing that both Nadia and Hans, just staying in touch and communicating with your clients, knowing that they're letting them know that you're willing to work with them at whatever level. And actually, I've made a lot of phone calls, and that most people are just happy to have somebody to talk to. I've just had some great conversations with people who I haven't talked to for a few months. So it's, you know, it's keeping those relationships strong and moving forward. And the other people that I've tried to stay in touch with are the builders and interior designers and architects that we work with just a quick email or quick phone call. I think we just need to stay in touch with our tradespeople as much as we can.
And, you know, Dusty, when we were talking earlier, you were mentioning that this proactive letting people know, here are the precautions we are taking, is kind of setting it up so they're going to be comfortable to welcome you and your team into their home, right?
Absolutely. We're, as I said earlier, stating rather than asking what we're going to do has been warmly welcomed, and the clients that are letting us into their homes, which there's more than you might anticipate, because you know, if you're going to watch Pee-wee's Big Adventure 8 times in a row, you got to have a good network stream for your Netflix. So we're coming into their homes, we're wearing gloves, we're wearing booties, we're wearing masks, and that's going to continue for some time. And once the Listen Up retail stores open, that is also going to be something that we're going to continue moving forward during this slow release period.
Right. And then we have another question talking about cultivating new business, building the pipeline. Now, Hans, you talked a little bit about that. Hans is going off to meet with a new client, obviously.
Yeah, right.
You're coming in so fast, you can't even finish my Zoom meeting. But did anybody have any other thoughts about filling your pipeline, like how we're preparing for entry doing that?
I mean, we've continued to do kind of all of our normal advertising and marketing that we have been doing, which I think has been really key. We're continuing to kind of spend more time trying to update our website, trying to do some more Instagram, social media stuff. We've also been trying to be really quick about returning a call or an email if we get a lead, and trying to set up a virtual meeting. And we found that although people would kind of initially say, oh, well, we I guess we could wait till we can meet with you in person. We're like, well, why don't we just do a video conference and talk about your project, and we can probably send you a proposal, and at least start talking about what you might want. And so we've been really trying to be proactive about taking whatever steps we can to sort of be more engaged with potential clients.
And I know, Dusty, you're doing some things with LinkedIn and social media as well, right?
Yeah, Listen Up is a strong networking and marketing company. And during this time, we've had a lot of manufacturers. Hunter Douglas has done a number of specials that I've reached out to clients or that I'm working with now to kind of maybe push over the edge or just show this opportunity to save some money. And things don't need to be installed this week. It's just something that's coming up in the very near future we can save them some money on, and that's building business. Listen Up on our website is continuing to do a lot of marketing, and we're in-house doing something we're calling Flash Friday, where we're doing these incredible savings and deals on televisions and speakers and electronic amenities for people's homes, and that itself has been a great retail booster for us.
So smart. Well, I think that...
Can I just mention something real quick?
Please.
This is Polly. I think this was an idea we had that we broadcast on Fox, one of the Fox programs. And it was really talking about what we were talking about today. If you haven't seen it, I can send you a link. But how are we adapting to this new world? And as we were preparing for this, my 33-year-old son's wife came up with an idea. Let's do a contest for medical workers. So we're calling it Nominated Nurse. And at the end of April, we're going to make a decision who's going to get the free closet makeover. I have a feeling we're going to give away more than one closet because these testimonials are so great. But as it turns out, National Nurse Day is May 6th. So on May 6th, we're gonna announce with a press release and something else crazy who the nurses are who are going to get a closet makeover. So I think, you know, it's good to just think outside the box and think about marketing however you can without calling it advertising. Because as we know, the medical people are on the front lines and we want to recognize them. And what nurse wouldn't want a great closet or a pantry?
That is such a lovely idea. Thank you so much for sharing that. And thank you, all of you, for sharing your words of wisdom and your business practices. It's been really inspiring to me. I look forward to seeing what you're all doing in the future. And I really thank you for being here with us today. And Terry, I think you have a few last words.
I do. Polly, back to your promotion. I think I saw that the first day it came out. And I just thought it was so generous and kind and so thoughtful. So thank you for putting that out there.
Yeah.
And just a couple of updates from Luxe. Again, we miss seeing everyone in person. Great news. We have our May-June issue arriving any day, hot off the press. The Colorado May-June cover is being released, the cover reveal today on Instagram Live, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. So stay tuned for our May-June cover. And then we have launched, just in shifting gears, some of the new platforms and ways of doing business through Sandow. If you haven't had an opportunity to take a look at our new Design TV channel, it's amazing. Interior design, Luxe, all the brands across Sandow are adding content and programming, and it's been wonderful. We've seen some amazing people and projects, and the programming is just very inspiring. So if you can just take a few minutes at some point, and maybe if you'd like to participate here in Colorado, we'd be happy to queue that up. And let's see here. Oh, July, August. We're working on July, August. We have about a month to go. And ironically, the features are centered around the healthy, smart, safe, and healthy home. So I think our timing is perfect. And we've got some time to regroup here. And moving forward, just thank you so much for being with us today.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having
I
us.
look forward to seeing you in person next time. Thanks. Bye.
All
All right. Thanks so much.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Thanks, Katie. Good day.